Hey guys, what up? Alf here, and today I'm going to be bringing you my first video in a new series that I'm going to be doing about how to play a certain card. Today I'm going to be talking about this card, Trap Dustshoot. Now this card is becoming more and more popular in the current format just because people aren't setting as many back rows because of the presence of Heavy Storm in the format, and just having knowledge of your opponent's hand is really key. So this is becoming pretty much a staple in every deck, and with its popularity increase I've been seeing a lot of players who misplay this card, and by that I mean they always activate it during the draw phase. And don't get me wrong, I do think there are definitely times where you should activate this card during the draw phase of your opponent's turn, But I think if you always do it, whether it's because you fear that they might have that one monster which they can play which is really damaging to your hand, or if you fear they might set a monster and then start setting back rows which makes the Dustshoot dead, a lot of people just activate this always during the opponent's draw phase after you've set it. But I think you're missing out on a lot of potential within this card if you always do that. You're missing out on potential pluses, and there are timings when you can leave this card unactivated and then activate it at a certain point that will win you the game. So I'm just going to show you a couple of examples to illustrate this. Let's say for example you're playing TG Stun and you just want the die roll to go first, and you open Trap Dustshoot, Reborn Tengu, MST, Thunder King Ryo, Bottomless Trap Hole, and Horn of the Phantom Beast. Out of this you elect to normal summon your Thunder King, set a Trap Dustshoot, and a Bottomless Trap Hole. Whether this was the correct play to do is debatable, but for the instance of this video I don't really have time to go and discuss every single play. So you pass your turn, your opponent draws for their turn, and you automatically activate the Dustshoot for whatever reason, whether you fear that they open with the monster as I said earlier, and you see your opponent has their own Thunder King, MST, Caius, Sangan, Glow Up Bulb, and Gauze. So from this it should be pretty obvious they're playing plants or thereabouts. And from this, looking at your hand, you see you have no out to Gauze, which is the only real threat out of this, because the Thunder King hurts these three cards, and while they could MST your Bottomless and then suicide with the Thunder King, I'd be happy to let them waste an MST in a deck against a deck that runs cards such as Skill Drain or Horn of the Phantom Beast. So you send the Gauze back. Whether that was the right move again is debatable, but I don't really have time to go through all of them. So then your opponent does proceed to blind MST your face down. I'm not a big fan of blind MSTing, but I think it's necessary for your opponent to do it at this point. So they hit the Bottomless, they then summon the Thunder King, suicide into yours, and end their turn. So let's look at what we've achieved by the end of that turn. We have 3 cards in hand, the opponent has 3 cards in hand, and we have knowledge of it. So in terms of card advantage, it's basically even. I mean, obviously the knowledge of your opponent's hand is very key, and that's why Dustshoot is such a good card. But let's see what would have been different if we'd have waited to play that Trap Dustshoot. So you have your Thunder King, you have your Bottomless and your Dustshoot set, and you do not activate anything during your opponent's draw phase. Now let's look at their hand, and let's look at this situation from your opponent's perspective. So Gauze obviously is not a viable card to play this turn because they can't play it this turn. You've got to wait for your opponent to attack, so that's not really under consideration for a play this turn. Caius you obviously can't play because you have no immediate tribute fodder for it. Sangan you obviously can't set because your opponent can just attack into it with Thunder King and then they won't get the effect. And Glow Up Bulb, you can't really achieve much by setting this, because even if you do mill to bring it back, Thunder King Ryo can negate the Synchro. So the only 2 real plays the opponent has this turn are cards from MST and Thunder King. Now I know a lot of people will probably say, oh well, this is really situational, this is just one example to show Dustshoot being good, but the number of times, especially with lots of decks running this card, that Thunder King will hurt a hand and your opponent will open with an MST, and since they will only have maybe 1 or 2 outs to the Thunder King, they'll want to guarantee that they get it through. And obviously since you have the 2 back rows, if either of these back rows are Solemn Warning, Mirror Force, Dimensional Prison, Bottomless Trap Hole, then the Thunder King won't get through, and that will really hurt the rest of the cards in their hand. So the opponent a lot of the time will blind MST just to try and hit one of those cards. This is more so common if you just, say for example, had 1 back row set, which is why I think opening Thunder King and Dustshoot and passing and not activating immediately is a good play. But anyway, I digress. Back to this example. They MST and they target this back row. You then chain the Dustshoot. It's instantly from that it's become a plus because the MST is then a minus for them. But let's look at their hand again this time and see what the difference is. Obviously they still have the same cards available, but this time you can send the Gauze back without fearing the Thunder King at all. Because the difference between this situation and the last one is that you still have the Bottomless available. So you know the only real card they have that can do anything to you is their own Thunder King. But obviously you have the Bottomless as an out to that now, and the Thunder King pretty much kills these three cards in their hand. So in this instance, the MST is a minus for them, your Dustshoot goes to the grave, and their Gauze returns to their deck. They then just summon the Thunder King and pray you don't have the Bottomless, Solemn Warning, or Deep Prison, but you do, you have the Bottomless. So you activate the Bottomless and banish their Thunder King. Now let's look at what we've achieved this time. Your opponent has 3 cards in their hand. You have 1 card on the field and 3 cards in hand. So instantly, just from waiting slightly to play your Dustshoot, you have 1 extra card. You're 1 up on card advantage. But more importantly, your opponent's hands can't do anything at the moment to get over the Thunder King. Sure, they can top deck into an out, but that's just the luck of the draw. But since you waited slightly just to play the Dustshoot, you are at so much more of an advantage right now, because not only do you know these 3 cards, but you also still have the card which makes those ones dead. So I hope you can see from that example how you can make Dustshoot a plus. And there's just another example I have quickly that's been stuck in my mind for the longest about waiting to play Dustshoot at the right time, even if the opponent does not MST it. The situation was I had a set Dustshoot, I had a set Starlight Road, and I had a set Horn of the Phantom Beast, I believe. My monsters, I had a face-up attack position Photon Saber Tiger, just the one, and a face-up defense position Fossil Dino. My opponent had 2 Scapegoat tokens on the field. And I know he's playing plants, and I know his hand is hurt by my Fossil Dino because he hasn't made an immediate play to get out of it. I then pass turn to him. He draws, and the first turn he plays is Enemy Controller, tributing 1 of his 2 Scapegoat tokens to take control of my Fossil Dino. Now at this point, this rings alarm bells, because Fossil Dino he knows I have the Horn of the Phantom Beast because he's seen it, and if he attacks into it with this, it's basically going to be game, because this is late game, we've both got fair enough card advantage, but he's very low on life points. So if he elects to switch the Fossil Dino to attack mode and attack into my Photon Saber Tiger, he knows I'll flip Horn of the Phantom Beast, and he then goes down to 200 life points in this instance, I believe. So I do not believe that's the play he's going to make. At this point, I automatically think he must have a tribute monster, most likely Caius. So what I do to this is I chain my Trap Dustshoot and see his hand, and indeed he does have the Caius in hand. I send it back to the deck and he scoops immediately from there. Another example I had where waiting 4 or 5 turns to play Dustshoot is when I just had it set, because another thing is if you wait to play this card, people often just don't expect it, because people often think, oh, everyone activates Dustshoot during the draw phase, so he hasn't activated any of his back rows during the draw phase, so therefore none of his back rows will be Trap Dustshoot. The example I had was I had a face-up TG Rush Rhino equipped with the Horn of the Phantom Beast, and my opponent summoned a Thunder King and ended. Summoned a Thunder King, set a back row and ended. I then thought, okay, well, he wouldn't summon a Thunder King unless either he had an Honest in hand or the back row he set was like a Deep Prison or whatever. So I then activated the Dustshoot after my draw phase, saw that he had no Honest in hand, and then blind MST'd his back row because I knew it must have been a Dimensional Prison, and it was. I then attacked over the Thunder King, and that basically won me the entire game. So I'm hoping through these examples you can see how Trap Dustshoot can be used effectively outside of the draw phase. And I really do hope that you take away from this video is just try not activating your Dustshoot immediately. I mean, there are some instances where if your opponent sets one monster and then sets one back row that you'll just have to activate it then so it isn't dead, but that very rarely happens. So yeah, my advice to you is just try out waiting a little bit to activate your Dustshoot and see how it works out for you, because I think activating always during the draw phase is missing out on the potential of this card. So yeah, thanks for watching guys. Let me know what you think. If you've got any comments, if you don't agree with me, Drop me a comment if you liked it, thumbs up, and I'll try and make some more. And thanks for watching. Cheers, guys.